Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shop Talk Episode 5.
Episode 5.
Yes, right. That's right.
We are here in the building.
That's right.
There's a lot of motion going on in the background, as you guys can see.
Always busy, always busy.
Always busy, always a positive vibe over here.
Yes, sir.
And we have a very special episode for you guys
Absolutely.
today. Last episode, we were talking about who's someone that inspires you.
Right.
Who's someone that you can look up to and get motivation from, right?
Exactly.
And today we have an individual that, he has all those qualities.
That's right.
Handsome.
That's right.
I'm talking about this gentleman is so accomplished in his life. Not only was this gentleman in the military, he lived on farms in different countries for free because he worked on those farms, but in exchange, when I say free, what I mean is he wasn't getting paid on this farm for working. He was working on the farm, getting no money in exchange to just room and board.
Right.
But what he wanted was the experience of those countries.
Okay.
This guy knows like 4 or 5 different languages.
Wow.
And then he comes back from overseas. He writes a book.
Wow. So he's very well accomplished.
Bro, check it out.
Uh-huh.
He was a judge. He
Wow.
retired as a judge.
Okay.
And now he's Gloversville's own mayor. And someone that, has all these different types of accomplishments, I felt it was so important to have him on board and join us for episode 5, because who else can we get some motivation from? From someone that seen it all and been through it all.
Yes, sir.
Literally. Humble individual. This individual, I saw him. He actually is the reason why I pick up sidewalk trash.
Wow.
Because I seen him.
So does my better half. She does the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. I seen him doing this a few times, and one time I said, this guy's like, he doesn't even have to do this.
Right.
But he went out of his way to go and pick up all this trash. And like I said, a lot of people would normally walk right by the trash.
Right.
And I seen that, and I learned from that.
Absolutely.
And when I learned more and more about this individual, man, I just was like, his story is powerful.
Yes.
It needs to be heard.
Yes.
It's none other than Mayor Vince DeSantis.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're going to go ahead and grab him real quick. He's in the background right now. We're going to go ahead and grab him.
Yes, sir.
Give us one moment.
Yes, sir.
Mr. DeSantis.
Hi.
Welcome.
Oh, glad to be here.
Here you go. Put those bad boys on.
So once again, welcome Mayor Vince DeSantis, everybody. Please give him a round of applause.
We have the one and only Mr. DeSantis over here. And Mr. DeSantis, before you got here, we were just going through a little brief history on some of your accomplishments, some of the things that you've done in your life, such as, I mentioned that you joined the military. You were overseas for a while, right? Working on farms for just room and board, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, no, that was much later.
Oh, that was
when I was in the military. I was in my 20s.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so tell us a little bit about that. So you were in the military.
Yeah, right out of high school, I went to college, and then right after college, I went to law school. And in my first year of law school, I got drafted into the Army.
Wow.
And it was the Vietnam era, of course. This was like 1970.
Right.
And so I went into the Army and went through training in different forts, Fort Dix, New Jersey, and then advanced infantry training and all of that. And I ended up with permanent overseas duty station in Germany instead of Vietnam.
Okay.
Because by the time I got done with all of that training,
Yes.
the war in Vietnam was winding down.
Right.
And they sent probably almost all of us to either permanent duty stations in the States or overseas.
Right.
And I ended up being in Germany for 2 years.
Wow.
Did you learn German?
I did.
Wow.
I did. I had taken a couple of courses in German in college. I took a little bit of French in high school and then German in college. So when I got over there, talking to the people and all of that, it all came back.
Right. Are you still fluent in German, or?
No, it was like
rusty?
so many years ago. But I'll tell you, within that 2 years, because I had the training in school, so I knew exactly, how the grammar was.
Right.
I ended up, by the end of the time, I was almost fluent in German. I was very conversant in German with people and all
That's
that.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I was kind of interested in languages to begin with, foreign languages.
Yeah. So, another thing that I mentioned was, because you said, your travels overseas after the military came much later.
Much later, yeah.
But you were also a judge.
Right.
How many years were you judge?
It was over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
You know, being an assistant judge for a couple of years, then became city judge. It was about 20 years on the bench doing.
Wow.
And it was city court, Gloversville City Court.
Right.
So the interesting thing about city court is you do all kinds of cases. Most of the cases are criminal cases.
Right.
But you do also small claims and civil cases and those kinds of things.
All in the same courthouse.
In the same courthouse.
Wow.
So everything that happens in Gloversville comes to that court, that judge.
Right.
Okay.
Different from New York City. They have separate courts for different things.
Yeah,
and
right.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And he also wrote a book.
Right, yeah. Tell us about your
He
book
wrote
you
a
wrote.
book. Can you please?
Well-
What's the title? When did you write it?
Yes.
What inspired it?
The title of the book is Micropolis.
Okay.
Rebuilding the Small City, because I was always interested, my whole career, I was always interested in cities.
Okay.
And how they develop, how they rise,
Right.
and how they deteriorate, and how you can revitalize them. So I was very interested in that for my whole professional career. And so I would always be reading articles about it or reading books that were written about it.
Right.
And I started to write down what my reaction to different articles was. And based on my experience, both overseas in foreign cities,
Yes.
in New York City where I went to law school,
Right.
and, back here, back home in
Yes.
Gloversville. And so, as I'm writing all of this, my wife said to me, this is going to be turning into a book. And so I said, really?
So it started
I
as a journal, turned into a book.
turned into a book.
Wow.
And so it started to get organized. When I started thinking about it as a book,
Right.
now I started to put it together as a book.
Right. That's amazing. That's amazing.
It ended up, being a very readable
Right.
book, about 250 pages,
Okay.
something like that.
Right.
And,
We're gonna have to include a link where we can all buy that book.
Yeah.
Okay?
Is it still in circulation, the book?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
that
still
is
have it.
awesome.
Mostly, it's on Amazon,
Okay.
but it's mostly in stores in Gloversville.
That's great. We have to look out for it. And we're definitely going to put a link in the description so
Yes,
someone can
yes.
buy it.
What what I do is I give a few books to every store and say it's just for you.
Right.
Sell them for $10 a piece. And
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Awesome. So there's a science behind rebuilding a city.
there is a science and,
And-
a lot of thought to it.
Yeah. So
And it's all based on how people react,
Right.
how people's behaviors change with certain environments,
Right.
and certain opportunities that they have.
Absolutely.
Because, that's been kind of a study. And, being a lawyer for a long time and then a judge for a long time,
Right.
you get to understand how people react to certain things.
Right.
But the thing that really interested me most is that a lot of people were doing research on this. Real scientific research, changing things like in New York City on the sidewalk, seeing how people react to that, changing a way a park looked and felt and how people react to that. People's behaviors are profoundly affected by what they see and hear and feel around them.
Of course, yeah.
I could definitely see that
Yeah.
for sure. You go into a spot and you could feel the inviting feeling
Yes.
when you go into a park that's
Yeah.
been renovated.
Right.
So I could see that. And certain communities where a contractor team might go in there and start knocking a few houses down, and where people from the community might say, why are they knocking those?
Right.
They're not really seeing that there's something better coming.
Right, absolutely,
We're,
absolutely.
Yeah.
working towards rebuilding something that was once deteriorated,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so sometimes it's a complicated process because people kind of want to see an overnight change, right?
Right,
You
right.
know, but these things take
Time.
years, right?
Absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
But I'll tell you, the most positive effect you can get from people is the behavior of other people around them.
Right.
The attitude, the feeling
Right.
around them. That's why when you go to a place where everybody feels good, you go to a concert,
Right.
you go to some place that's beautiful, and the people are feeling good,
You feed off that
you
energy.
feed off that.
Right.
It makes you feel good. And what happens is that spreads to other people.
Absolutely. It's contagious.
It's contagious. So a community that feels positive about itself, a community that feels good about itself,
Yes.
it attracts more people that
Right.
are positive, productive, creative people.
Absolutely.
And so that's the whole game.
Right.
The whole idea is private investment, but it's bringing in people that are creative and positive.
Right.
Because it's contagious.
That's right. We need more mayors like this one. I mean,
for real. That's why I seen him. He came a few days ago. I think it was a week or so ago, and he got his hair cut. And I mustered up the courage to ask him to be a guest on here because, just being around him, I'm in the chair next to where he's getting his hair cut, and I'm just like overwhelmed with inspiration. And like he said, it's contagious. You want to be like that too. That's why I felt it was so important for you to share some of your experiences, your story. And we would need 2 episodes if we wanted to hear all of the stories. But,
there's a lot more.
I can imagine.
But truly an inspiration to not only people in Gloversville, to anyone that he's come across. I'm sure he affected them in some sort of positive way. Speaking of, destroying and rebuilding, this man put Gloversville on his back.
Absolutely.
Not exactly.
We voted for him.
Listen, not exactly, right?
Not exactly, but no.
But listen, he put Gloversville on his back. He's got a crazy good team of people doing the same thing, but he's on a mission to rebuild Gloversville. And I know that there's a bunch of projects going on right now. Could you fill us in a little bit of, I know we have some apartments downtown in Gloversville is going to get revamped. And it takes time. We want to remind people that this is not going to happen overnight. But man, let me tell you, it's happening. There's bulldozers, there's a bunch of...
it's always active. You see
it's active. It's happening currently as we speak. So what are some of the projects that Gloversville can look forward to in the near future?
Well, I have to tell you that it's not just commercial development. It's not just buildings. I always say there are 4 different aspects to it. One is brownfield remediation, which is really important. The old tanneries that Gloversville has that have some pollution. There's some environmental degradation to those places. We have a relationship with the federal EPA. And we're applying for our 3rd grant in a row to do assessments on all of these areas and remediation. And so now we're in the position where we're going to be going into the remediation stage and marketing these areas to developers to develop either new clean industry, housing, a mix of housing and commercial in these areas. Because a lot of our tanneries, because it's an old city, the tanneries were in residential areas because people didn't have cars in those days.
That's right. They used to walk everywhere.
They would walk to work. And Gloversville had a population of 25,000 people. So all of these houses were built around the tanneries and the glove factories. Glove manufacturing was a clean industry, but tanning was not because it required a lot of water and they had to use chemicals for the tanning process. So when we clean up these areas, it's going to change all of these residential neighborhoods for the better. And so that's really, really important. And so our sort of relationship with EPA is moving forward dramatically with that. Then we have neighborhood revitalization. We've got a very aggressive way that we do that. And there's a couple of different things. We are aggressively trying to acquire derelict properties and either hand them off for rehab to developers or demolish the ones that are not worthy of redevelopment. So what we do is when we take out the worst houses in a neighborhood, we increase the value of the entire neighborhood. And we inspire the other people who own these other houses to improve their houses. So we're doing that. We're going to have a street tree, a project, and all of that. So we want to develop all of our neighborhoods into livable neighborhoods where people can buy a house that's affordable and renovate it. So that's our neighborhood improvement. Then we have commercial redevelopment. And we're really focusing on our downtown to become not only a commercial center so that there are a lot of stores and a lot of places to eat and that kind of thing, but also the public spaces are going to be developed so that there are fun spaces. We'll have a lot of public events. That's our DRI, our $10 million DRI fosters that. But now, because of that DRI, we're getting interest from other investors that would like to do things outside of the DRI.
Oh, that's great.
So I don't have time to get into all the details of some of the things that we're going to do, but the public spaces, we have St. Thomas Square going in around the Farmers Market Pavilion. We have a new plaza on South Main Street. So those are public projects. But then there are also 12 private projects. The Glove Theater, the Carriage House across from the Glove Theater.
Going to be a restaurant, sports bar.
That's right,
The upper stories developing into residential areas. So what we want to do is we might want to make downtown a destination not just for shopping, but for community events and just having a good time.
Absolutely. A lot of these mayors need to take note from him.
So that's a lot. All of that together is very, very important.
Yes,
absolutely. And what keeps you going? What makes you still say, I want to keep going, I want to keep doing more for this city?
Well, I'll tell you, for a long time, and not only that, when I was on the city council, before when I was a judge, for a long time, I was always involved in these projects that say, well, maybe this will catch on, maybe this will get people moving, and it's always been, will this work, or will the next thing work, or will the next thing, the Farmers Market Pavilion, the Glove Theater, all of these other aspects, and it's always been maybe. Now, just for the last year or two, now this is going to happen because we've laid the foundation for it. It's got momentum, and there's nothing that's going to stop it.
Hey.
I'm convinced that 2 years from now, this will be a very different place.
Oh, that's great. That's
that.
great to hear. Wow.
Let's just be patient.
And highly
fellas.
anticipated.
Yes. Just wait for it. We got some huge things happening in Gloversville. We see it all around us. I know when I first got this shop, there weren't that many storefronts that were occupied, and now you look around and you see
starting to fill up.
They're starting to fill up, right? You agree?
Yeah, we had just this year we had 7 or 8
that's
open.
great.
Look at
That's
that.
great.
And they're doing good too.
Yes.
You see people visiting the stores, the new businesses, and it just, like he said, it starts with, like he said, it's got momentum, right? And how contagious this positive movement can be.
Absolutely.
So somebody sees something doing something
and it
good.
I
shared how you inspired me to be a sidewalk trash picker upper.
Absolutely. And I seen him do that.
So and when I saw him do it, I just knew that I had to do it too.
Absolutely.
Because why not? What is the reason not to?
Yes.
So that's the contagious part. We want to keep spreading that positivity. We're moving forward, never backwards.
That's
and if for some reason there's a bump in the road, we adjust a little bit, right?
We'll deal with it.
We'll deal with it.
That's it. It's just an obstacle.
It's an obstacle. But you heard the mayor. It will happen.
That's right.
It was a maybe before.
Yeah, but it will happen.
Yeah, now it's not a maybe anymore.
Right.
It's not a maybe anymore. Now, I got to ask you this. For our listeners out there watching and listening, paying attention, have you ever wanted to be a lawyer? Have you ever thought about being a judge? Have you ever thought that far ahead? Do you ever think about possibly writing a journal that could possibly turn into a book?
Yeah.
But take it a step further and not give up, not be content with what you've already accomplished, but also becoming mayor. Now, all these things, have you ever thought about accomplishing some of those goals, but something being in your way, something hindering the process, maybe you not believing in yourself, not willing to take that healthy risk? For those listeners, Mr. DeSantis, what's something you can say to help them not give up, to keep going, to take that extra step? What's a secret?
Well, I have to tell you that I had my own challenges. I graduated from college, and college was really an inspiring thing. And in those days, and this is like ancient history for most of you people, but I went to college in 1966. And I graduated from college in 1970.
Wow.
And it was
what
like
did you
a
major
four-year
in? I'm
school.
sorry.
I majored in political science
Okay.
and education.
Right.
When I graduated from college, I wanted to go to law school.
Right.
So I went directly to law school after that. And I hated it. I hated it. It was just too much.
Right.
I went through a year of law school.
Right.
And I got drafted into the Army.
Right.
And it was a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
I thought, okay. And I ended up in Germany and in Europe. And I was stationed at a place that was 4 hours drive from Paris.
Oh, wow.
And I had a little Volkswagen Bug, and my buddies, we would go to Paris for a weekend.
That's amazing.
Think about that,
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Heidelberg and
Right.
Munich.
Yes,
and
Berlin.
those places.
Right.
It's just amazing.
Right.
The things that you'd see. And it was just a great experience.
Absolutely.
So when I got back to the States after I got out of the Army, and I went back to law school, I just said, look, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to do this. And it was a completely different thing for me.
Wow.
It was just that 2 years of maturity, that 2 years of
Yes.
experience, of seeing the world.
Wow.
It was a completely different thing. So it wasn't like I loved law school.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to tolerate it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was that persistence. And then I have to tell you that I graduated from law school. I took the bar exam. I started practicing law. I started working for another law firm in Gloversville. And I hated it. I hated every minute of it. It was
Right.
just a grind, and I just thought, I can remember coming home, oh my God, I have put in so much time and so much money and so much effort into this, and I hate it. What am I going to do? So I just put my head down, and I kept going. and I got good at it.
Wow.
And I got through it. You know,
Right.
I'm thinking so many young people today, if you have your first day on a job,
Right.
right? You hate it.
Right.
Everybody hates their first day on a
Absolutely.
job.
Absolutely.
It's the worst day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Right?
yes.
So many
And you-
things going through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you have to be persistent. You have to know whatever path you're on that you can do it. And you can do it by just concentrating
Right.
and just getting through it and doing it.
Right.
You know,
It's
and-
possible.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
always
Anything's possible.
possible.
That's amazing words.
And so those,
man.
you know, that whole career that I had
Right.
and all of that and where I am today, I would not be here if I didn't decide, okay, I'm going to give this a chance.
Right.
Yeah, so you heard him. I mean, you just basically can't give up on
Right.
yourself,
That's
you know,
right.
and also as difficult as the task may be, you can't just say it's not for me. It might be something you have to come back to. You know, like he said, he hated it. It was a lot, and then he matured. It took how many years? 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
2 years. And then he came back a totally different mindset. He was more mature. He
Right.
was ready
Absolutely.
for this once
Right.
very intolerable task.
Yeah, and sometimes you need a different environment, a different view to open that up.
Right,
you
right.
know?
Yeah. So he's seen everything
Yes,
from
exactly.
being across seas and, you know,
Absolutely.
coming back to the States.
Different experience.
Coming back to the States from there, because I've never been to Germany as much as I want to see some of the historical sites out there one day. But, like, coming back over here, were you happy as heck to be an American? Like, to have it how we have it here in the States compared to some of the countries that you visited?
Well, I have to tell you this. When I was in Europe and I was in big cities, I was in small cities. I was stationed in a city called Pirmasens in Germany, which was
Okay.
about the size of Gloversville.
Right.
They were very famous for making leather shoes. So it was amazing. But seeing the communities, the way that people lived in Europe, when I got back to the States and I got back to Gloversville, it was like 11 years had gone by
Wow.
that I had not been in Gloversville because,
Yeah.
you know, being in college, being in law school, you know, all of that. And Gloversville had deteriorated.
Wow.
And I looked around and I'm thinking of these cities in Europe,
Yes.
these small cities in Europe,
Right.
and how they worked. And I said to people, we can be fantastic here.
Absolutely.
We can do better. And it was that experience in Europe that made me look at Gloversville with new eyes and say, we can do this.
Right.
All we have to do is decide that this is going to be a fantastic place.
Right.
And,
Yes.
and so I had been sort of interested in doing that
Yeah.
all of those years.
You know, getting inspiration from a foreign country's small little city.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then bringing that inspiration over here, seeing what could be done with your surroundings over here, and then being a part of the movement.
Right.
to
And putting
help.
it into fruition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. My hairs are standing up.
Well, let me tell you something. It took a long time.
It didn't happen overnight, guys. Don't.
It took a long time. It was really something that, you know, you had to keep at forever.
I mean,
you
he's
know?
still keeping at it.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
still going.
We didn't mention the garden that he helps. Tell him about the garden.
Oh, yeah, the community, the neighborhood
He
garden.
started
We
a neighborhood garden.
Wow.
There was
That
a
is
plot of
great.
land.
Right.
Yeah, it was city-owned property.
Right.
It was where 3 houses got torn down.
Okay.
It was over on Fremont Street.
Right.
Or 2010 was when we decided that's going to be a neighborhood garden.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
And you drive by it, and he's there, taking the weeds
Wow.
out,
Still.
pruning.
Yes.
He's doing his thing, and
Yes.
this is what I mean. Being around the positive individuals, taking a little bit of that energy and making it yours. You know, I'm a small fish in this pond, man, but 10 years later, I would have never thought I am where I am now.
Absolutely.
So it takes time for
Yes.
the people
Yeah.
that are out here and maybe tuning in and saying, wow, you know, Michael has this, Bacardi has this, Mr. DeSantis. These things take time,
Absolutely.
hard work.
Absolutely.
You got to keep at it, like he said. You got to keep at it. It takes decades. You know, Gloversville is on the come up. It's on the rise. We have some neighboring cities that are also on the rise.
Right.
And we're not going to stay behind.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
We're catching up. If not, we're right there with you guys. You know, so we don't want to keep Mr. DeSantis too much because he's got
Right.
a whole city to take care of.
Absolutely. I just want to ask him one question before we
yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
This is your second term as mayor, correct?
Yeah, it's right.
Are you seeking a third re-election term?
Well, I'm really excited. I'm kind of too old.
You've done so much, and I see this going like, or it's something.
No, you probably could do the math. If I was 18 in 1966, I'm 75
I got you.
75. Wow. Guys, zoom in. He does not look 75.
Nope.
I would have never guessed that.
The thing is, I have 2 more years in my term.
Gotcha.
And so I will be 77.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
So
at
it's,
some point,
really.
what does retirement look like for a gentleman like yourself?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I couldn't see you just sitting still.
I know, right? He'll be out there doing the same thing that he's doing now. I can see it. I can see it.
He just exudes motivation, and I just hope that you keep inspiring people the way you have throughout your entire career. I hope that the young guys over here listening, young ladies, if you have a dream that you want to follow, don't forget, it's going to get difficult along that road. It's going to feel impossible, unbearable, and also intolerable sometimes. Stay patient. Maybe take a break, learn, and come back to it. Don't give up.
And you can do anything. You can do anything you put your mind to. Determination, focus, will put everything to fruition. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely true. And it's really people that really make the difference.
Absolutely.
It's people, man. Inspire someone. Be positive.
Yes.
The person sitting next to you, lift him up. Let's not break him down.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone has to realize that everything you say and do, even everything you think, has an effect on the world around you.
100%.
It really does have an effect
Yes.
on the world around you.
Absolutely.
If you're sending out positive feelings, the whole world is affected by that.
Wow.
It's true.
It is.
I believe that.
I believe it too.
Somebody told me once, when some new person comes into your community, their impression of that community is determined by the attitude of the first 4 people that they meet.
Wow.
They will have a
I know.
completely different opinion of that if they meet negative people.
Right.
They'll have a completely different opinion of the entire community.
Yes.
If they meet positive people, their opinion will be positive.
Wow.
So we have an effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of us have
Yes.
an
You
effect.
are
Absolutely.
powerful. You are powerful.
Yeah.
You are
That's
powerful.
Right.
And you're powerful.
So, man, let's be an inspiration to others. You see somebody that's thinking about a career move, taking a healthy risk, encourage that person.
Absolutely.
And if you listened or watched this podcast, but they didn't, show them the link because they need to listen to this story. I wish we had more time with Mr. DeSantis.
He's a busy man.
He's a busy man. But we do really, really appreciate you coming on episode 5 today. It truly means the world to us. We were very, very excited for this episode.
I'll tell you, I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
No problem.
Our pleasure.
Thank
Our
you so
pleasure.
much.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Really
thank you so
positive.
much.
Yep, thanks much.
Thank you so much.
Truly inspirational.
Yes.
Thank you guys. This was episode 5. Thanks for tuning in.
That's right. And another round of applause for Mr. Vince DeSantis, please. Mayor of Gloversville. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. That concludes episode 5. Stay tuned for episode 6.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you, guys.